Good morning, Bruins. I'm Elijah.
And I'm Isaiah.
And we're your anchors for Wednesday, December 5th.
Please stand for the pledge.
It's National International Ninja Day.
Your lunch options for today will include hot dog, coney dog, chicken tenders, and waffles, pancakes with extravaganza, big Uncrustable, and chicken patties.
Our sides today are green beans and a fresh veggie tray.
In national news, 5.1 million pounds of beef were recalled due to salmonella. The recalled beef was packaged and produced between July 26 and September 7th. According to the FSIS, no one was killed, but 56 were hospitalized.
The emails of some of the top officials of the National Republican Congressional Committee claim that they were hacked during the midterm elections. They are not talking about it at this time because they do not want to interfere with the investigation process.
Now to Taj with the sports and weather.
Thank you, anchors. 7th grade boys basketball won last night over Center Grove Central to move to a 5-1 score on the season. And 8th grade boys basketball also won, but with a score of 38-34 over Center Grove Central to move to a 6-3 series basketball season. LC plays Ellen in boys basketball tonight. Tickets at the gate tonight are $10. Both LC and Ellen are Renton State. Thursday is the last day for anyone who wants to wrestle for our school. They can try out Thursday, which is the last day for wrestling tryouts. Winter cheerleading tryouts are on December the 10th and the 11th. Girls basketball tryouts are also on December the 11th, but on the 13th. Now back to our anchors.
Thanks, Taj.
There's a jazz band concert tonight at 7 at LC.
7th graders, if you have not done so, please turn in your field trip and $5 to your social studies teacher as soon as possible.
Our random fact of the day is Charlie Brown's father was a barber.
Now to Mr. Husher with the rest of your morning announcements.
Have a great day, Bruins.
Good morning, Bruins. I just wanted to talk briefly before we start the last of the three videos that were produced by Mrs. Neal and Mr. Smith and Mr. Bergman about our school rules and expectations. Today we'll be showing the final segment of that video, and I want to make sure that all students are closely paying attention. I also want to remind students that today we're going to be doing our third session of our second step curriculum. Today our 7th grade students will be talking about strengthening friendships, and our 8th graders will be talking about negative relationships. And both of those are extremely important, as we know, especially at this time in our lives, that our social life and the people that we choose to be around and who we decide to be our friends or not our friends are some pretty important decisions. I've heard it often before that you are an average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So some of us need to take a step back today and maybe consider who it is that we're spending time with. Are those people who are lifting us up, who are encouraging us to do well, who are happy for us when we succeed, who are showing us respect, or are they people that are maybe having a negative influence on our life, and maybe is it time for us to change that circle of friends that we have? So as always, I would ask that everybody please take our second step curriculum seriously, be open and honest in your conversations, and make sure that this time is meaningful. So we're going to start that last video that Ms. Neal has put together, and then at about 9:05, I will get on the PA, as I have done in the past, and dismiss those students that go to a different location for second step. Thank you. Have a great day.
Our next question kind of deals with that as well. It's about cutting class. Cutting class means you arrive 10 minutes late to class without a pass. There was some confusion on this. That is cutting. 10 minutes late without a pass is cutting. So that is true, and only about 72% of you got that correct. This is something I hear from students. They'll tell me, oh, Mr. Bergman, I wasn't cutting. I came to class. It was 15 minutes late. Well, that's cutting. Cutting is any unexcused extended time out of the classroom. Sometimes students will go get a tardy pass, and then they'll go to their locker and their restroom, and they'll talk to a friend. and then 15 minutes later, after they got the tardy pass, they try to show up to class. The teacher turns them away and says, no, you've been cutting. Please go down and see Mr. Smith. Go down and see Mr. Berkman. And the students want to tell us that they weren't cutting. Guys, that is cutting class. Any extended absence from the classroom without permission is cutting, and you will have severe consequences for that. It's a safety issue. One, you can't learn if you're in class, but it's also a safety issue. We need to know where students are, especially if there's a school emergency. How can we guarantee your safety if we don't know where you're at in the building, okay? So we take cutting extremely seriously, and you will have severe consequences if you cut classes.
Next question. Students are expected to use appropriate language with students and staff members. The answer to that is true, and 91% of you got that correct. That is true. We ask you guys just to talk to each other like human beings without being disrespectful. As adults, we get mad as well, but you don't see us going around here cussing at people, yelling at people. It's all about how you handle the situation and how you treat one another. So, once again, when speaking with one another, please speak to each other with respect.
Next question has to deal with social media. Students may receive school consequences for social media drama that begin outside of school. And 80% of you got this correct. That is true. You may receive school consequences. So let's just be really clear about that, since 20% of you didn't get it right. Guys, we have actually had to remove some students from school. They have been put at home for the school year because of social media drama. Because of threats or other drama that's risen on social media. So please understand that things that you post on there can have a consequence at school as well.
Next question. It is appropriate to walk on the right side in the halls. And the answer to that question is true, and 92% of you got that correct as well. As you guys know, we have a lot of students in the building, and we're passing at one particular time. That's 1,200 students in the hallway, so we have to have some type of order in the hallway. So if we ask everybody to walk on the right-hand side, that'll help cut down on some of the chaos in the hallways and make it a smooth transition period for you guys during the passing period. So that means no running, no play fighting, no playing, period. Just when the bell rings, walk on the right side of class and walk to class. You can walk and talk at the same time, but don't stop in the middle of the hallway, knowing that we have 1,200 students trying to get to class, and just don't stop in the middle of the hallway to have a conversation. You guys can walk and talk as you walk to class.
Next one. Students may receive the same consequences for play fighting as a real fight. 86% of you got that correct. That is true. You can receive the same consequences, which could be suspension or expulsion. And that's something that Mr. Smith and I often hear is, oh, we were just playing. Well, oftentimes, real conflicts that we deal with start off as somebody playing, and somebody takes it too far, and it turns into a real conflict. So that's why we do not allow play fighting, because oftentimes it does turn into a real conflict. Also, it's just not safe. We've had kids that have gotten hurt often, many times, because they were playing around and somebody just kind of took things too far and somebody gets hurt, or worse, an innocent bystander gets hurt. So that's why you can receive the exact same consequences for playing around, horsing around, as you would in a real fight.
Next question. If a staff member asks your name, it is okay to refuse if you don't know them. And the answer to this is false. And only 81% of you got this correct. No matter who the adult is, whether you know them or not, but you know they work in our building, please be respectful and respond to them and give them your name. It is never, once again, it is never okay for you not to give a staff member your name. Because at that point, you're being insubordinate. Whether you have them as a teacher or not, they are still an adult who works in this building. You are expected to give them your name no matter what you may be going through at that particular moment or time. Stop, think, and just give them your name. You make the situation worse by refusing to give them your name, and at that point you're being insubordinate and will receive consequences.
Okay, and our last one, and this is a really important one. You can receive serious consequences if you prevent others from learning. And the answer to that, of course, is true. 92% of you got that correct. Guys, there's really only 3 reasons that Mr. Smith and I will put a student at home for the year. One, if you put other safety at risk, but the other 2 have to deal with if you keep teachers from teaching and if you keep other students from being able to learn. That's a really big problem, and you can receive serious consequences for that. And we have had to send home some students already this school year because they kept other students from being able to learn. Our biggest goal is to make sure that we have a safe learning environment for all students. So if you're violating that, that's a really big problem, and you are going to have severe consequences.
And also, adding to that, the handbook states you can be expelled from Belzer Middle School if you have 10 or more referrals. That is called substantial disobedience, Indiana Code 20-33-8. That makes it lawful for us to put you out of the school because it's pretty much stating that you are a disturbance to the learning environment and you're preventing others from learning. So once again, the handbook does state at 10 referrals or more, you can be recommended for expulsion. So keep that in mind as well.